Joining me right now is the White House Press Secretary, Kayleigh McEnany. And Kayleigh, it is great to see you this morning. Thank you so much for being here.
Good to join you, Maria.
The senator just walked us through the timeline. We've already heard from Democrats and the president's critics. Senator Schumer says he's not even going to meet with Amy Coney Barrett. So did Ms. Hirono, saying they're making predictions about how she'll vote on things, and we haven't even heard from Judge Barrett in terms of where her positions are. What's your reaction?
That's right. It's blatant politics by the Democrats. It's their wish that the president would somehow stop being the president in year 4 of his presidency. Unfortunately for them, that's not how the Constitution works. And they have pretty bad precedent on this if they're trying to set a new precedent, because, of course, we know President Barack Obama made a nomination when, in fact, they didn't even have control of the Senate. We actually have control of the Senate and the presidency, so we have a very compelling case for having made this nomination. First, the Constitution is probably the most compelling case. But this is blatant politics. They're trying to frame this nominee before ever getting a chance to hear from her, and it's shameful. She's got a great jurisprudential history, and people will see that quite soon in short order.
Yeah, I mean, they're even attacking her for being the mother of 7 kids. So people are questioning that, which really struck me. They don't have anything else to point to in terms of her record. So they're moving into her personal life.
That's exactly right. They're attacking her for being a working mom. They're attacking her for her faith. And make no mistake, this is a trend from Democrats. This is an attack on working moms across the country, against people of faith across the country. But lucky for us, there is no religious test to serve in public office. In fact, that's explicitly prohibited by the Constitution. But these attacks, and it's just, within 36 hours, 48 hours of her being named, are really indicative of where the Democrat Party of today is, and unfortunately, I think it'll get even more vicious as we move forward.
So, Kayleigh, let's talk about the debate. President Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden will square off tomorrow night. The first of 3 presidential debates, going to be the must-watch event of the season. How is the president preparing, Kayleigh?
Yeah, he prepares every day, Maria. You see it as well as I do when he takes questions from very hostile reporters in the briefing room, in the gaggle setting. Yes, he has put in additional prep behind the scenes, reviewing all that he's done as president and preparing to bring those accomplishments to the debate stage. But most of his prep is done in a very transparent, public fashion, and he will be greatly advantaged for engaging in this dialogue with a very hostile press corps. He'll be ready for whatever comes his way.
Now, our own Chris Wallace will be the moderator. He's come up with the 6 items that will be of discussion. I see that China is not on that list. Will the president try to get in a conversation about China, even if it's not a direct question asked? Because I know that this is an issue that's very important to the president, given the fact that he's the first president to push back on the bad behavior and the theft of intellectual property that the Chinese Communist Party has been engaged in for decades.
That's right. It is our hope that China comes up because we have a strong record to stand on. This president came into office and brought the fight to China and navigated and made his way to getting a phase 1 China deal. That's what this president has done. And you compare that to Obama, Biden, which essentially bowed down to China, did not stand up for our economy and for domestic production and for our farmers. And this president has. So it's a very clear contrast, and especially important as we face a pandemic that came in from China. This is the China virus after all.
So what are you guys doing to make sure that there isn't cheating around this election? Look, last week we found 6 ballots that voted for President Trump in the garbage. This morning we've got news of a ballot broker boasting about keeping hundreds of absentee ballots in his car trunk, Kayleigh. Okay? This is in Minnesota. He's bragging about them being filled in by by people other than voters. Often money changes hands. Witnesses tied the fraud to the campaign chairman of a prominent member of the radical squad. You know who, Ilhan Omar.
Yeah, that's right, Maria. It's very troubling what we see across the country. Unfortunately, states are really in control of this. And I say unfortunately because we've seen Democrat governors pave the way for mass mail-out voting, like what we saw in Nevada, where there were ballots languishing in trash cans. So the onus really is on these states and localities to protect and safeguard their elections, because when you have a system where you had 100,000 ballots rejected in California in their primary, 100,000, we didn't know who won a congressional election for 6 weeks in New York. In New York City, 1 in 5 ballots tossed out. This isn't a system that enfranchises voters, that safeguards the vote of the American people. It's one that distorts it. So we're really making this case quite publicly so people can put pressure on their Democrat governors and mayors and election officials to make sure this is an accurate vote of the American people.
Well, the president's going to need a landslide, really, because they are already saying they're not conceding. Hillary Clinton said under no circumstances should Joe Biden concede this election. Are you expecting that we won't know who the president is for the next term for weeks?
Oh, we certainly hope that's not the case. We want this to follow in the way of the great American tradition, which has been every election except one, and that was Bush v. Gore, which none of us want to see. We had a projected winner on election night. That's what we would like to see play out. But you're exactly right. It's so funny that there's always this onus on President Trump. You know, will he accept the results of the election? When in fact, it is Hillary Clinton who has never accepted the results of the election. It is Hillary Clinton who said Joe Biden should not concede under any circumstances, and many other Democrats who have been on the record saying something to that effect. It's always been the Democrat Party, but leave it to the media to ignore that.
Well, the media is certainly helping Joe Biden as much as they can. The New York Times out with a story this morning on President Trump's tax returns. The piece is alleging years of losses and years of avoiding taxes. Kayleigh, your reaction to the New York Times piece this morning?
It is inaccurate, it's flawed, it's wrong, as the president's attorney told the New York Times. But leave it to the New York Times to publish an inaccurate piece. They've done so quite often as we led up to the Russia hoax, where there was nothing to see here, as Mueller found. But we've seen this play out before. Tax information or purported tax information dropping on the eve of a debate. They tried this in 2016. It didn't work. They need to get a little more creative in their strategy as we move forward to 2020, because it didn't work out too well for them last time around.
But Kayleigh, look, I've learned that we're not going to get an interim report from John Durham before the election. We may very well not see any indictments before the election. I imagine it's going to continue after the election, but there's this debate going on inside the Department of Justice that if they release anything now, any conclusions from John Durham's criminal investigation, it will appear politically motivated. Shouldn't the American people understand how they tried to unlawfully take down a duly elected president in 2017 and make sure people understand the scam that was behind it? Why aren't we hearing from John Durham yet?
Yeah, the American people deserve answers. I'll leave it to the DOJ as to the timing of that report. But look, we've had numerous investigations into President Trump and finding no collusion. He's really been the most investigated and thus the most exonerated person in America. But what we do know, and in fact, I should say don't know, but we need answers to, is this elaborate takedown scheme that happened in the Obama-Biden administration, the Oval Office meeting just days before exiting office, where there was this plan, it seemed, to entrap General Flynn to go after him, to take down this administration, the lawful vote of the American people. We deserve answers on this. The insurance policy by Peter Strzok, what was going on in the FBI, and we deserve those answers in short order.
That's absolutely right. Kayleigh McEnany, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much. We will be
watching,
watching, of course.